Hello, everyone, and welcome to our talk, Hackers Gonna Hack Legally. We will give you an introduction of why we get to hack our customers, why it's reasonable that we hack our customers, what they can gain from us doing that, but at the beginning also how to convince our customers that why they benefit from this and why they should allow us and trust us with their systems. 2 years ago, we were sitting basically in lecture halls just like this before the pandemic hit anyway. And a lot has changed since, not only the length of my hair, but also we've gained a lot of experience in the real life world. We started out as rookies in the consulting world and now get to consult companies on their cybersecurity stance and help them mitigate risks and be better prepared against cyber attacks.
Yeah, but before we start talking about how and why we actually hack our customers, we want to take some steps back and want to briefly setting the scene to talk a little bit about what is cybersecurity. Is cybersecurity even important? And what is now actually difficult about cybersecurity? So, cybersecurity is the practice of defending computers, servers, any kind of devices and data from malicious attacks. And this can pretty nicely be summarized in protecting system and data, or protecting the integrity, the availability, and the confidentiality of systems and data. And while preparing for this talk, I was thinking about my time back then at ETH, and one system and one kind of data which came to my mind, where cybersecurity or the importance of cybersecurity is shown, at least to me, when remembering back my time at ETH, is the portal My Studies. I hope this portal is still existent. Back then it was the portal where you as a student get your grades. And so wouldn't it be really stupid if the confidentiality of your grades would be messed up, or if the integrity of your grades would be messed up, or even worse, if after the long and exhausting period of exams, you wouldn't be able to access your grades at the day when they came out. And I must admit, I remember sometimes My Studies has issues with availability, especially at these days where the grades came out. But I think this is a pretty good example to showcase the importance of cybersecurity. We brought further indications why cybersecurity is important. And one example is, or one indication is seen by just looking at the newspaper. I mean, if you open the newspaper or surf the internet, you see a lot of headlines towards cyber attacks. Quite recently, there was the attack against Uber, or this attack against Rockstar Games, where thousands of lines of codes of the new GTA was stolen. So looking at the headlines gives definitely one indication why cybersecurity is important, or that it is important. Then a second one, as many statistics are out there as probably headlines are out there. I grabbed two from a blog here to showcase. I mean, the cost for cybersecurity rose over the last 10 years about 50% per year. So this is one statistic which indicates the importance of cybersecurity. And another one here, when looking at the frequency where a ransomware attack happens, 2060 there was every 30 seconds. Now in last year it was all 11 seconds. So there is like 4 4 times as often happening in a ransomware attack. Another indicator, statistics, another indicator that cybersecurity is really important. And a last example why cybersecurity is very important is that we think or we see that all companies became tech companies. Even like a traditional farm somewhere in Thurgau uses like iPhones, like drones, tablets, fancy tractors. So also they are connected to the internet. They have a lot of IT. Also for them, cybersecurity is very important. So I hope I could at least convince you that cybersecurity is important. The issue is that even it seems to be very obvious, it's not understood yet by everyone. So we have a lot of clients, or not a lot, but we have some clients which really are not, for them, the issue of cybersecurity is not obvious. So, and one problem there is that it is often the upper management, like the people deciding, the people having the money, the people having the power to distribute the change to the whole company. So one might wonder, what are the reasons? Why is cybersecurity not, or the importance of cybersecurity not clear to everyone? And we want to show you four points we often came across in our daily work life, showcasing a little bit what's the mindset of certain companies is. And the statement we probably hear the most is that cybersecurity does not generate any business value. So it's costs, it's just a cost driver, it's expensive, it's useless, it does just not generate any business value. And I don't want to rate these statements, I want just to showcase them to you. So then another statement we often hear is, we are different. We are different. We are not interesting to cyber attackers, we do everything different, there is no interesting data lying around at our place, so we don't have to care. That's something we also see quite often. Then probably our favorite is the one of companies which just don't want to care about cybersecurity because they are afraid of handling what comes after. Like if they just show at their cybersecurity issues, then they also have to take care of these issues, and they absolutely have no time and no will to do that. So yeah, I let that up to you to decide whether this is a good reason. And the third point, there is even in 2022 are companies and managements which are not aware, which are still basically not aware of the danger of cybersecurity. Yeah, and we are here with our team at AWK. We are here to make this relevance of cybersecurity felt to everyone, to every company, to the smallest one, to the farmers in Thurgau, just to everyone, that they understand cybersecurity is important. And how we do that, this is Julia gonna talk about. Yeah.
So what happens quite a lot when I go to my customers, especially the ones who are not so sure about cybersecurity yet, is that I come prepared with my current vulnerabilities and the CVSS score of these vulnerabilities and how dangerous they are, all packed into fancy slides. And I feel really comfortable and confident about that. And this client must see that this is a problem, right? This is common human sense. What I end up looking like, though, is a little more like this. And just painting a very bleak picture, and most CEOs maybe come from a business background and don't really understand what I'm talking about. What is CVSS score? Never heard of it. So I kind of need to bridge these gaps. And how we do it is we go to the level of business. And business is usually about mitigating risks. So we need to show the cyber risk in a language that the CEO of our customer can understand. And how we do this is usually with this pretty risk matrix. And in Risk Management 101, we use this risk management tool to kind of classify the risks we come across. On one axis, we have the impact. So how badly are you going to be affected when the problem starts? How much money are you going to lose? And is it going to break your neck as a company, or are you somehow going to get through it? The other is probability. And this is also usually like gauged vaguely. Sometimes we have a scale of like, this is likely to happen once every week, or this is likely to happen once every 10 years. And there we kind of need to find a way to explain this to a person where we lie on this risk matrix. So we try to classify the risk, and then we can either say, well, we don't want to venture into this area of business, so we avoid the risk completely and be done with that. But if we really have to engage because we are a retailer and more retails happen online, we kind of need the online market, otherwise we die out. So we somehow need to mitigate the risks. And there we have 3 options. We reduce the risk as much as possible. Either we reduce the probability or we reduce the impact. We transfer it. This is usually when insurance companies come in, because you can contractually agree with an insurance company that they pay you a certain amount of money if this risk comes into place. And once you've done these 2, it looks a little more like this maybe, and you have mitigated your risk to an acceptable level, and you can close your books and be okay, this is fine now, we know this risk exists, we have done our most humanly possible to fix it, and this is the residual risk that we now accept. Now, what does this look like in cybersecurity? The impact of, for example, a ransomware case is still somewhat gaugeable. For example, if you're the CEO of Amiga and you're hit by a ransomware attack and your OT system stands still for 3 days, which means you can't produce your watches for 3 days, you kind of know how much money you lose by this production failure. It gets a little more difficult when you get into loss of reputation and loss of customers due to a ransomware attack, for example. But there you can also make estimates. If we lose 10% of our customer base, how well are we still off financially? So this is kind of still gaugeable for anyone, even without a technical background. The other part, the probability, is where it gets a little more tricky. First of all, we have two actors, the threat actors that we are fighting against, and our defense systems. And again, the threat actor we can kind of analyze. For the farm in Thurgau, it's probably not as important that we are protected against nation-state actors, but we might be vulnerable to some teenagers sitting on their home computer and just trying things and seeing how far they can get, and maybe accidentally stopping your production from working. So with our customers, we help them to see what they're vulnerable against and which level of threat actor that we're talking about. And then, of course, they have a defense, which consists of their technological defenses, protecting their networks accurately, having their web applications protected, etc. But it's also about the people. How well respond your employees if they see something fishy or if they click on a phishing link? Do they know whom to talk to when their screen suddenly goes black? And the processes, and how well your processes in your company support or hinder your employees doing their jobs. And how fast maybe also you can kick these processes into gear when you can't work on your IT systems anymore because they have been compromised. How quickly can you boot your whole system back up, and how quickly can you start getting back to your day-to-day life. And these defenses is what's really difficult to gauge how well they're working if you never test them. And once we have done this level of threat analysis, seen how the threat actor works, and also how big the impact can get, usually then we are allowed to hack them. And now we've come to the point you've probably all waiting for, the actual hacking. And I've given you four examples of findings that we have found at our customers. The first one, signified by this playground, is a configuration issue we found on an antivirus on a customer's end device antivirus setup. And the problem there was that this configuration somehow excluded one specific folder in the folder structure that is set up in every company-issued laptop for every employee. And because this configuration excluded this folder, and we had local admin of the device, because the employer also did not think that was an issue for their employees to have local admin, we basically could do whatever we wanted without the antivirus noticing, which is not what you want. The second one was an SQL injection that we found on a publicly facing web app that was displaying the customer's customer data, and we were able, without any authentication, to download their whole customer base, including their addresses, phone numbers, birthdays. So this is basically the super-GAU for anyone who works with individual peoples as their customers. We do not know whether this has already been exploited, but it has since been patched, and hopefully no one has had any lasting damage from this. Third option that we have here with this tablet and the infinity sign, this customer had a tablet which employees used in their retail stores to input customer data into a database. It was a normal web app supposed to be reachable only from these tablets, and to secure the web application and the underlying customer data, it was protected by a 6-digit PIN. I say it's supposed to only be reachable from these tablets because we found in the sitemap of the website of this customer, who also had an online retail store, we found this web application. It was accessible from all over the world. And because it was only secured by a 6-digit PIN and no brute force protection whatsoever, we were able to recover over 90 employee PINs, which were personalized, and from that recover all their customer data. So also, again, not ideal if you're handling customer data as your main source of income. And the last one is passwords. Bad passwords everywhere. Bad passwords consisting only of the street address of the customer's main location, shared in Excel files, on a drive, publicly available in the network. So as soon as you're in the network, you have access to the drive, and you have access to these passwords, which they use for several accounts, which also contain customer data. We even found in one PDF the admin password of a server which hosted their main business application. So also super-GAU. Now, if we have these findings, what do we do with them, and how do we talk to our customers that this is maybe suboptimal?
So, as Julia said, it's usually possible for us to demonstrate that we can make the worst-case scenario for our clients to become true. And for us, very important is that we then also stay there to support them and to help them understand what is actually the issue and how can they increase or strengthen their cybersecurity. And here, something we observed by looking at other competitors, it is that often after such assessments, such good hackings or such assessments, there often is a report which lists all the technical details, the technical findings, and this is then handed over to the client. And for the IT guys, yeah, well, this is good, this is understandable, they can mitigate the issues, but the whole management part, the whole organization of a company is not touched with that, and the whole organization usually does not become aware of the underlying problems because usually it is not about the technical problem we find is usually not like the issue, but more like the consequence of a weak cybersecurity. So therefore, for us, we not just provide the inputs for the IT guys, but also the input or the support for the management and the strategic level. And I brought two examples for that, going back to the issues Julia presented, how these then look like. For example, Julia explained that we found passwords lying around in plaintext in company-wide accessible folders. And then a recommendation from our side, for example, for the IT department is, of course, reset the passwords, remove the plaintext passwords, and probably enroll a password manager. So this is pretty straightforward, understandable by the IT, and makes sense. But as important as these recommendations are the recommendation towards the management, because if the employees do not understand how they should use this password manager, why they even should use it, and why it is not a good idea to put passwords everywhere in the company, then the password manager is just throwing money out of the window. So a recommendation, therefore, could be, and this is now very generic, but like to the company to establish a security culture or a culture of security within the company. That means having guidelines, having regular inputs or trainings for the employees to understand about the importance of cybersecurity and stuff like that. So here, the IT things are important. They fix the issues which are here right away, but on the management level, we also have to convince, and we also have to put in input to strengthen the cybersecurity of a company. And the second example here with the SQL injection, of course, for the IT guys, it's pretty obvious, like sanitize your input. Come on, that's not that hard. Or probably increase monitoring and detection capabilities. This for the IT side makes sense, but if we just have it like that, chances are that in 2 years, in 2 months, we have the same issue because developers do not care about cybersecurity. It goes some inputs got therefore not sanitized, and so on. Therefore, also here, it's very important to give inputs for the management, like here anchoring like cybersecurity in the whole development process of this SQL database, such that all developers are aware of cybersecurity, that there is a program steered by the management or founded by the management where people and developers understand why security is important and why it's important to sanitize input. So, to summarize, inputs and measurements and cybersecurity for the IT guys is very important, but as important are the inputs for the management guys. Because, as I said, they have the power to do it holistically and to anchor it in the whole company. And with this, back to you, Julia.
Now going again, once again, on the level of risk management, this is the summary of our 3-step approach. First, we talk to the client about their business risks and try to quantify them in terms of impact and probability. try to figure out the threat actor that is probably most interesting or relevant to their business. From that, we conduct our assessment and do the fun hacking part and get back to them with actually a quantifiable risk and how bad their security performs. If the security performs well, then we don't have much to do. Clearly, they're doing something well. But if it's in the red part, as seen here, then we help them implement measures to mitigate this risk. So this much to our approach. I have 3 more takeaway messages that are, we think, very relevant in today's cybersecurity world. The first one is cybersecurity is not just about technology and just about IT. You need to have your people on board, you need to make them aware, and you need to give them alternatives. Because if you don't give them a password manager and they somehow still have to share accounts and share their passwords, how else are they going to do it? They have to write the password somewhere down to share them across personnel. So it's very important that you give your people the right tools so that they don't implement the shadow IT that you have no control over. Technology, obvious reasons. If you have vulnerabilities, they're going to be exploited. But the processes also need to enable your people. And you need to adapt these processes so that they give maximum impact within your company. Only if all these 3 work together holistically, you have a chance in this time of age against cyber challenges and against cyber security issues. Second takeaway message is to be successful and to sell it to business, you need to tailor the cyber security measures accordingly. It has to make sense for a business. Again, it depends on the threat actor. The farmer in Thurgau doesn't need the same security as Vetpol. So make sure that you recommend to your customers what makes sense for them. And lastly, we need more people to bridge these gaps between the CEOs and who have a very good business understanding but maybe know nothing about technology, and the tinkerers, the hackers, the nerds. So we need more nerds in suits, but we also need more coding managers to bridge this gap. And if you feel like you're interested in this, maybe cyber consultant is a job for you.
So yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for your attention. I think you understand how these QR codes work in case you want to link up. Other than that, thank you for the attention, and of course, we are happy to answer any questions. Seems not to be the case.
I mean, yeah, we don't have to keep you longer if you don't have any questions. So again, thank you for your attention. And you can also come talk to us after if you don't want to ask in the auditorium. Thank you for the talk. As a little present, thank you again. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Hey, die sind unbekannte.